Welcome back to the Island of Misfit Toy Collectors. Dreadnought Ryan here. And hey, I wanted to finish up my series. I've already made speculation on what kind of vehicles we'll see from Hasbro and the G.I. Joe team, play sets we could possibly see. So I want to finish up with just vehicles we might see with Haslab as we move into 2024 and beyond. So far, we've seen the His Tank and the Dragonfly, both iconic vehicles from the Real American Hero toy line. And it looks like we went Cobra and then Joe, so maybe we go Cobra again. But I think that's just all kind of up in the air. I think the Joe team has done a really great job of finding the right vehicles to include in these Haslabs, as well as having some pretty, I'm going to say really good unlock tiers. His tanks with the extra drivers and the accessories, and of course the Dragonfly, the same. I think for a successful Haslab, it has to be something that the community wants. It has to have great value, be the right size, and then have some nice unlock tiers to justify spending the money for it. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to start with some honorable mentions. These are items I would love to see, but again, I think I just hit on all those points: size, cost, and just what could come with it. If you're talking the Rolling Thunder, the Cobra Night Raven, and the Sky Striker, these are best suited for the 1/18th scale, as it just gives you the right scale to have items that you can either play with or store. The APC, which I would love to absolutely see join the classified line, I just don't think it comes with enough stuff. It just might not be iconic enough. Doesn't have a driver. If you were going to do anything like it would almost have to match up to what Palatoy did with the APC, having the medical bay and different features like that. Again, so these are my honorable mentions. I doubt we'll ever see anything in a classified Haslab unless, classified just continues to take off like gangbusters. But I just think for pure size and cost, it would just eliminate these items from possibly being Haslabs. Now, with all of that said, let's get into some of my choices, and then I can contradict everything I just said as well, too. Number of folks have pointed this out, and I think this is a great choice for a Haslab for 2024. It is the Cobra Hydrofoil, the Moray. This is a great item that had a number of great play features. It had the missile launch reports, had the torpedoes. Of course, it had the engine cover with the cool V8 looking motor in the back. It had great storage and a number of different places where you could put action figures. I think scaling this up to classified scale would allow you to really load it up with all of your Cobra figures, whether it's Vipers, Troopers, Eels, whatever. It will just allow you to really load up this particular item. And then it also will open up more opportunities for other vehicles. So you could see the devilfish, you could see the shark. You have to have Joe have something to fight against, right? Unlocks with this particular item would be figures. Since this is a troop builder type item, you could unlock more figures like they did for the His Tank. You could have, a special eel team like we did for the Cobra Fire, the His Fire team. So it just opens up a lot of different opportunities for Hasbro to really take advantage and make this type of Haslab really special. Next up is the the Mauler. And why I picked the Mauler over the Mobat is really quite simple. It's figure placement. The Mauler had two spots where you could put figures, where the Mobat just had the one. Both of these items were motorized. I think if you do this in a classified scale, you have to make the cockpit bigger for figures. So you'd also have to add some sort of feature for loading and firing of the main gun. Have some other different features like that you could include. I think the Mauler would be great. It's an iconic vehicle. If you had it as a kid, you know how cool it was. And then, of course, just with the what we've seen from some of the customizers turning them into remote controls and different things like that, I think it's just a great possibility to add for the Joes. It would also give them something they could fight against the His Tank with. Now, I said size and for planes and cost and all of that, but I think the Rattler could be that in-between item. It is definitely smaller than the Sky Striker or the Cobra Night Raven. It does come with an iconic driver in Wild Weasel. I'd love to see what the classified team could do with that particular figure. You could add ground crew for this particular item, blast effects, different type of guns maybe for the The weapon itself, it is a version of the A-10 Warthog, which is an iconic vehicle. It also has the VTOL takeoff and landing feature. I just think it would be a cool item to add another type of troop builder for Cobra. You could include, like I said, the ground crew, blast effects, maybe some damage panels, different things like that. But I think it would be a great item, and I think it would be successful. I think folks would definitely want this. And if you have Cobra with air power, you got to have Joe with air power too. So Conquest X30, I think would be the right size plane for the classified scale. It didn't have as many features as the Sky Striker as far as the landing gear and the swept wings, but it did have some cool features. The design of the Conquest X30, of course, the missiles and the, I don't know if you want to call them bombs or just fuel tanks, the drop tanks that it came with, the engine detail where you could pull the cover off and see the engines. But it would also have some really cool possible tier unlocks. Of course, a ground crew, but Ace did also come with the Conquest X30. It was Ace version 5. So not only could you get Slipstream, but you could get Ace, which would mean you might need not just one of these particular items, but you may need two. So I think it would just be great to have some air representation for both Cobra and Joe. And I think the Rattler and the Conquest would be the perfect vehicles to bring to a Haslab. Now I have to take back everything I said for the last few minutes about size and cost and different things like that, but hear me out on these next two. We know we're getting Metalhead, so that has to mean that we're going to be seeing Iron Grenadiers. Now, the Demon was on the bigger side, and it did have some cool features. I don't think it was as popular as some of the other iconic Joe vehicles. But what you could really tie into this is if you have Destro with his despoiler, as let's say what Hasbro did with Serpentor in his air chariot, have that be a deluxe pack that they could sell, I don't know, one of the cons or PulseCon or whatever, or just make it a general release for folks to buy. But then it would be able to tie into the Demon. It does have some really cool play features, so it can elevate and then, of course, squinch back down. It has the missile pods. It does hold, I believe, 3 figures, and just had some other cool play features. But I think this could be a possibility maybe down the road once we start seeing more Iron Grenadiers to include a vehicle like this. Working treads would be amazing. Lights, different features like that. And then again, tying it into another vehicle would be pretty cool. You could include different Iron Grenadier as unlocks, maybe some different weapons, blast effects, just a number of different cool things that you can include with it. And then finally, my item that God, I would love to see this, but it goes against everything I just said, cost, size, all of that. But hear me out on it. I think that the hovercraft for the Killer Whale is one of those iconic vehicles. If you talk Dragonfly, you talk the Hiss. I think as kids, we all wanted a Killer Whale. For the kids that did have it, it was an awesome toy to have, and your friends always wanted to come over and play with it. You could put a ton of Joes inside the Killer Whale, and as well as you had a number of cool play features, whether it was the sled, the little motorcycle, the fans on the back. It just was an absolutely amazing toy. And I think you could include some pretty cool type troop builders for G.I. Joe, sailors, maybe a repaint of Shipwreck, maybe a different repaint of Gung Ho, but it would just give folks an opportunity to pick up a really cool item, and definitely would be an absolute crazy scale. Because Killer Whale was big in the 1/18 size. Imagine that in classified. Now, you could also then say, well, what about the Cobra Bug? What about the Tomahawk? Yes, those are all great items that could possibly be there. But are they more iconic than the hovercraft, the Killer Whale? I don't know if they are. I don't know if we would ever see this item again, just the size and the cost of it. But I think if classified continues to be as successful as it's been and continues to pick up steam, could be a possibility of something down the road. What are some of the items you would love to see for a Haslab? I know that we've talked about some play sets that might work as a Haslab, but what play sets or vehicles would you like to see? Am I completely off base with some of my choices? Let me know in the comments. You guys have all been great. We're almost to 700 subscribers. It's been crazy. So again, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's recently joined. And then, of course, a huge thank you to everybody who's been here from the start. Couldn't do this without you guys. Thanks so much for all the support. And again, let me know what you guys think. I joined Podcast from the Pit last week, so I'm going to include that link in the description for the video. Go and check those guys out. They're starting to pick up a little bit of steam, and it'll be nice to give them guys some support in the community. Again, big shout out to everybody from the Island of Misfit Toy Collectors, wherever you're at on the island. I hope you're having a great morning, day, night, evening, whatever. But more importantly, yo, Joe.